Everybody's day should be productive. That's the key. Productive and good. And, this week's Parsha, we have the brachos of the Kohanim. There's a lot of great blessings. I don't know if people recognize greatness of all those blessings that we get from the Kohanim. What's included in the blessings of the Kohanim. Well, so many different commentaries explaining what's the meaning of that blessing. What's the meaning of the verse that says, Yo'er Hashem panav elecha v'ifnecha. What does that mean? So maybe we'll talk. Maybe what we do every day upstairs when they give you a blessing, Yo'er Hashem panav elecha. One of the commentaries of Beit Bechaya says, Hashem should shine His face to you means you should have children that are b'nei Torah. Children that are connected to Torah, following Torah, that Torah is something that's, something that they follow and they learn from and they grow from. It's an amazing blessing to everyone that they should have certain type of children. We're living in a time period today that, a lot of the children, not everyone is living up to that being a ben Torah. And that's one meaning. Others say, Rashi says a different shot. The Rashi says that Hashem should show you a happy face, which most probably means that He should smile at you. He should be happy with you. He should bestow all different types of great things, show you, good things in life. There's a lot of different explanations of what does that mean when it says Yo'er Hashem panav elecha. Or Yisa Hashem panav elecha v'yosef. What does it mean? Hashem should Yisa Hashem panav elecha. Rashi says if we do something, Hashem should get angry. He could just forgive us, let go, and not show His anger. Others say it means Yisa Hashem panav elecha. He should give us hashgacha pratit, constant helping us, guiding us in every move we make, and setting things up for us in such a positive way. So there's many different explanations. What does that mean? And I wanted to suggest that maybe they're all true, and maybe many of them, maybe that's the intent of the verse. It's not clear what it means, the blessing, because you know what it means? Because it means all of the above. Perhaps maybe all of that is included in the blessing, and much more that we don't even, and there's also other commentary of what does it mean? What does this blessing mean? Also, God should bless you. We open up. What does it mean? Bless you with what? In what way? So Rashi says wealth, but I would suggest that it's not. Probably there's other. I would speculate there's other interpretations, true interpretations of that verse of what's the blessing that we're referring to. Is it just wealth, or it's much more than just wealth? So I was thinking it's a different appreciation of, God said to the Kohanim, this is the way you should bless the people. These are the words. This is the formula. This is the winning team. This is the way to go. So I think you can't, that there's no better blessing than the blessing that God Himself says that the Kohanim should bestow upon the people. So that was I was inspired by the commentaries, and that was a thought that I had. And maybe when we say Amen, we say Amen after each of those blessings. It's called a threefold blessing. Bracha Mishuleshet Batorah. The threefold blessing, because it's three psukim, and we count each one as like one blessing, each one of those verses. And when we answer Amen, that it should be true, it should come true, that I should merit that blessing. It's a powerful Amen. You realize what you're saying Amen. We don't even realize how much is in that. That's the thought that I want to share with everybody today. So if I cover maybe the next class that I cover, breakfast, maybe we'll elaborate more, focus a little bit more on that, this concept. I think it's something to think about. Okay, we are on Yud Aleph Amar Aleph. We are on 11a. That's this week's parasha, by the way. Parshas Naso is the Birkas Kohanim. So we are on Yud Aleph Amar Aleph. We are on 11a, and it should be in the art scroll. It should be 11a1. I'll ask Adam if he wants to send to the group that we are on. No, we're good. We're fully charged. Every person should always be fully charged in many ways, with enthusiasm, inspiration. Okay. Lishna Achrina. You should know, just we're dashing a little bit over here. You should know that the Kuzari, one of the Rishonim, says that every day when you wake up in the morning, you are deficient. You're not because you're just the same way you're deficient that you need a certain amount of nutrients, certain energy to eat because your body needs certain things. Same thing as your soul, your neshama. You wake up in the morning, it's hungry. Same way you're physically hungry, it's hungry for its food, for its spiritual nourishment. So when people don't feed their soul, they're starving their soul. There are a lot of Jewish people that are starving, not poverty starving, not from financial starving, but from spiritual starving. And their soul is not feeling comfortable, they're not complete, because they haven't fed it. And maybe we have to help feed the poor. Poor Jews. What type of Jews that I'm referring to? I'm not referring to the Jews that don't have money. Of course, that everyone should help them too. But I think we have to focus also on the Jews that don't have Torah in their life, or they're on the road. They want to grow. We have to help them because they're very hungry. Many of them don't realize how hungry they are. Sometimes you could talk to a doctor and he could tell you that the patient is really hungry, but they don't even realize it. Right? You have these people that they don't eat, whatever. But yeah, I don't know if they always realize they're hungry, or they don't realize they're deficient. They don't even feel it. They've got used to not eating anorexic, right? Do they realize that they're missing? There are a lot of elderly people that they don't realize that they need to eat. They don't realize that they're dehydrated. They go to a doctor. Doctor says you're dehydrated. I didn't know I was dehydrated. The guy didn't realize that they were dehydrated, right? It happens to people, right? So people don't even realize that they're thirsty. They don't realize, and that's a lot of Jews don't even realize that they're thirsty, that they're missing, they're hungry, that they're starving. They don't even realize it. They don't realize that Torah needs to be a part of their life. All right, Adam, you hear that? Max, you hear? We got to help them. We got to feed them. And this is and when you're feeding them, you're feeding them life, eternity. It's not just temporary life. It's forever. Good morning, Dr. David. Okay, we are on 11A1. By the way, also I would mention that maybe people should reach out to Mr. Manny Haber. He hasn't been back yet. He's been away for a long time. So we should reach out. I've spoken to him last week. I spoke to him a number of times. He is working he says he's coming into work, but he's sleeping in Brooklyn. So keep in mind, maybe people should want to reach out to him, say hello, wish him a good Shabbat Shalom. That's what I would recommend. But the person who was here at the class for years, and we have to go ahead.
Morning, Rabbi.
Morning, Yosef. Okay, we are on 11A1. Lishna Achrina. We have second line from the top of the page. You have it? Second line of the page. It says Lamed Aleph on the second line, which stands for Lishna Achrina. Lishna Achrina. Amila Amar Rabbi Yehuda Shmuel. We have a different version of what Rabbi Yehuda said in the name of Shmuel. And he said the following. Mutar lishan bekilat chatanim. You're allowed to sleep in this bed that's made for the chatan. This is a type of bed that they would make for the chatan, for the groom. And it had a canopy on top, but the canopy did not come to a flat, there was no flat canopy on top. It just came to a point on top, like a triangle. And therefore, if you have such a kilat chatanim, if you have such a bed in a sukkah, it's not a problem. It's not considered an interruption because there's no roof. It doesn't come to a roof. There's no flat roof on top. There's no roof that's a tefach, that's let's say 3 to 4 inches on top. The fisha ein lo gag. It doesn't have roof. Afa pisha gavoa asara. Even though it's 10 tefachim high, you could go ahead and sleep in such a item. Okay, so that's they call this a bridal canopy. So there's some sort of canopy that they made for chatanim. So, we know, like, we have a chuppah, right? When we have a chuppah, it's 10 tefachim high. It's a canopy, some sort of cover. And this kilat chatanim that was made for chatanim, Rashi says it's around the bed. So it sounds like it's like a bed with some sort of draping on top of the bed. But the draping is sloped, and doesn't come to a flat. It doesn't come to a flat roof, and therefore it's not considered a real tent that will interrupt between you and the Succah. That's what's happening over here. Is everything clear, Dr. Navid? That's the morning assignment. That's the issue over here. Okay, so you can sleep in that bed in the Sukkah. Let's say maybe for the Shiva Shemei HaMishtet, maybe 7 days of festive. He got married between Yom Kippur and Sukkot, and now he's 7 days of festivity, the 7 days, and he has this bed, this kilat chatanim, and he's in the Sukkah. He can sleep in this bed in the Sukkah, even though it has something on top of him, but that's not called an interruption because it does not come to a flat on top. It only comes to a point on top. It's like this on top. It's not like this on top. Therefore, it's not called a tent. Therefore, it's not considered an interruption. So that's what the Gemara says. Okay. So the Gemara continues. Good morning, Jaime.
Morning, Rabbi.
By the way, I just wanted to get back to Jaime on his question that he asked yesterday regarding a person who gets up in the middle of the night. What's the halacha regarding if you learn in the middle of the night, then you have to say Birkat HaTorah, you go back to sleep, and then you get up again an hour later, during that you have to say Birkat HaTorah again. So that was Jaime's question. And really, it's a beautiful question because who asks these type of questions? The only people that most probably it's practically applies to such a person. So that's, first of all, we hope other people will have these type of questions. Really, we hope people can sleep through the night.
That was the point. It's better to sleep through the night.
It's better to be through the night. But if for some reason a person's not sleeping through the night and you wake up, so what if some people do? They go put on the television, they put on this. But the real thing to do is to learn Torah. That's the best thing to do. And so really, everybody agrees. You go to sleep at night, you wake up 1 o'clock in the morning, whatever it is, you went to sleep at your bed at night, that will be considered an interruption. Many say, I think, as long as you slept a half hour, I think I'm under the impression. If you slept at least a half hour at night on your bed, that's considered an interruption. And now you want to go ahead and learn, you would say Birkat HaTorah, right? Which follow with the psukim, right? You say there's some which whatever, however the Sfardi minhag, after you say Birkat HaTorah, right? There's certain psukim that you say. So that for sure you would say Birkat HaTorah again. But if you go to sleep again, let's say you learn from 1 a.m. to 2 a.m., then you went back to sleep, and then now you got up at 3 a.m. Now the question is, you went to sleep you were over another half hour you slept. At the nighttime, would you require new bracha a second time during the night? That's not so clear to me. I spoke to Rabbi Tahan. I wanted to ask his opinion. Rabbi Tahan says you would not say a new bracha. In that case, he agreed. You would say the bracha the first time you got up at 1 a.m., you went to sleep, you got up at 1 a.m., you would say a bracha for sure, Birkat HaTorah at that time. Now you learned from 1 to 2, and now you went back to sleep at 2, and you got up at 3, and it's still nighttime at 3 o'clock. He's of the opinion you would not say a new bracha at that time. But the question would be, what happens let's say you learned at 3, and you went back to sleep, it's during the night. You still went back to sleep during the night. It's still nighttime. Then comes the morning. Would you say a new Birkat HaTorah in the morning? You said one at 1 a.m. Would you say 1 in the morning again? Right? So Rabbi Vadia Yosef on record, I saw, says you would say a new bracha in the morning. Since you went back to sleep, it was nighttime. You woke up in the morning. You would say a new bracha. Rabbi Tahan, he was of the opinion you would not say a new bracha. He was of the opinion that if 1 o'clock you said a new bracha at 1 a.m., he says that should cover you for the rest of the day. He's a rabbi that I've met that I've met. I just want to share with you. So this seems to be a question. Once you said it at 1 a.m., do you need to say it again in the morning or not? According to Rav Yosef, since you slept, if you went back to sleep while it was nighttime, you would, Jaime, I would appreciate if you would ask one of your big poskim, see what they would say, one of the big rabbis that you're connected with, to see what halachic rabbis, maybe Rabbi Yitzchak Yosef, see what Rabbi Yitzchak Yosef says on this matter.
I've heard one opinion that if you sleep your main sleep, so to speak, the largest stretch of sleep that you have, and then you wake up, say the bracha, and that's it for the day.
Okay, we have to. I think there are a lot of different opinions on this matter. So I'm just saying, but it's good to hear, see if someone spells out all the different, opinions but remember, when we sleep during the day, see, the general opinion is when you sleep during the day, that's not called an interruption. Sleeping, if you take a nap during the day, you go to sleep at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you wake up at 4, you would not require a new bracha for Birkat Torah at that time. That seems to be that's the accepted opinion on that. The issue here we're talking about when you went to sleep during the nighttime, that's where the issue is at. Sleeping by day does not require a new bracha. But maybe Rabbi Yitzchak Yosef can write a tshuva. Jaime, maybe you can get him to write a response on this question.
I don't have his number. You have his number?
I think you could get it.
Okay.
All right?
Yes.
Okay. It doesn't have to be Rabbi Yitzchak Yosef. It could be any of the big, big rabbis.
Okay.
Okay. Let's continue in the Gemara. So we are on Yud Aleph Amud Aleph, 11a. Good morning, Kevin. So the Gemara just said, Lishna Achlina, we'll take a second line from the top. Amar Yehuda Mashmuel, Mutar lishan b'kilat chatanim. You're allowed to sleep in this bed that's made for the chatanim, for the groom, and it has some special draping over it. Since it does not have a roof on top, it doesn't come to a flat roof on top. It only comes to a point, it's sloping on top, so it's an angle on top. Even though it's 10 tefachim high, even though it's 10, we welcome Mr. Shirazi. Good to see you. Welcome back. Baruchim habayim. So that's what the Gemara says. Meitivei. So the Gemara challenge. So the chiddush over here is that even though it's 10 tefachim high, even though it has the height of 10 tefachim, but since it doesn't have a roof on top, so very good to see you. Welcome back. Rahim Aboy. Yes. Thank you very much. So even though it has the roof, even though it's 10 tefachim high, it's not considered an interruption between you and the schach. So the Gemara says, Meitive, I have a question. I have a challenge on what you said. Hayoshein b'kila. If someone sleeps in a kila, b'sukkah, in a sukkah, lo yasi dechavoto. You did not fulfill your mitzvah of sleeping in a sukkah. If you went ahead and you had a cover, you had a sheet, you had the kila, is you have 4 posts on your bed, and you throw it, and there's a sheet that goes across, and it says that if you sleep in that type of kila, it is no good. It's considered an interruption between you and the schach. A moment ago, you said a kilat chatanim, the bed that has this kila bed, that you said if it has this type of draping on top, we said by the chatanim, it's no problem. And yet you told me a kila and a sukkah, we said it is a problem. So it seems contradictory. The Gemara in the question did not think that there's a difference in the makeup of a kilat chatanim. In no real difference in the way no major difference in the architecture of a kilat chatanim or a kilat of an ordinary person. The Gemara answers there is a difference. The Gemara says hacha ma'askinan b'sheyesh lagag. The regular kila comes to a flat roof on top. But since it has a flat roof on top, so if it's 10 tvachim high, if it has a height of 10 tvachim, so then it will be, it's considered interruption between you and the sukkah. Because you're like in a separate tent. You're in this, it has a sheet on top that's going across, and it has an empty space from the top of the sheet to the bottom of the bed, according to Rashi, to the top of the bed of 10 tvachim. So you're like in you're in a separate entity within the sukkah, right, Simon? You gotta be sleeping in a sukkah, not in some sort of other tent. That tent is not a kosher sukkah. So you're sleeping in some other structure within the sukkah. So that's why the Gemara says it's not kosher. But the way they make the kilat chatanim for the chatan, that canopy that came to it was a diagonal, it came to an angle on top, came to a point. It was not flat on top. But since the canopy that they made for the chatanim over his bed was not a flat roof, it was like an angle. It came to a point. Therefore, there it's not a problem, because that's not called a tent. Because something that does not have a roof, a flat roof on top, is not called a tent. Yes. You want to talk a little loud so everyone can hear your holy voice?
Structure.
Four posts going up.
It's not. It's looser. Like so. It's like.
Right, the cover on top.
It's not.
Does it come to a? Is it?
It's not.
Does it go slopey? Does it go like a slope? Or is it like this? I mean, does the top? You can have sheets or sheets going like this, pointy, which there's no roof. I mean, there's no flat. There's no. It's not called a tent. A tent has to have, in order for something to be a tent, has to be a flat surface, a flat covering of at least a tefach. And since it doesn't come to a flat covering of a tefach, therefore it's not considered as a tent. Exactly. That's why the kila of the room did not come to a flat top. It was more sticky, call it more celebratory, and was probably making more design, not just a flat top. It came to, so it's not a real tent. So therefore, even though it has the height of a real tent, but it doesn't have that dimension, that flatness of a real tent, and therefore it will not invalidate your being in a sukkah. You're still considered that you're in a sukkah. You're sleeping in a sukkah. It's not considered you have slept in some other structure that will interrupt between you and the schach. So the Gemara says, Tashma, have the following challenge. Niklitin shnayim. What's the niklitin bed? That has the bed, it has the two, in the middle of the bed, you have a post going from one end of the bed to the other end of the bed in the middle. If you take a look at the picture over here, right, you have like a post. You see this post on this side, and it's the same thing on the other side. It's not four posts. It's just two posts. One here and one over there. Adam, you got it? That's in a bit. It's if you have a bed that has like one post here and the same post on the other side. It's only coming at an angle. There's no roof on top. And what does it say about the niklitin? It says about the niklitin, shnayim, the kinofot arba. But the kinov bed has four posts. Each corner has a post where you have a flat sheet going across. So here, and there's a contrast. Piris al gabe kinofot. If you spread on top of the kinofot psula, then it's invalid because the kinofot has four, and then you spread on top, it's flat on top. The kinofot bed, the canopy that's on top, and therefore that would invalidate you sleeping in a sukkah. Al gabe niklitin, but if it's on that niklitin picture that I just showed you, which only has two posts, one on middle of the bed and one on the other end of the bed, in the middle, and it comes in an angle, it's sloping down, which you don't have a roof of a tefah. It says in the klitin geshera, it's kosher. Buvad shelo yin klitin gevohim and amita asaret tvachim. As long as in the klitin is the posts are not higher from the bed. Interesting. You see, Rashi. This maybe is a support of Rashi's opinion. The 10 tefachim is about from the bed, not from the ground. As long as the posts are not higher from the bed, 10 tefachim, you're good. Meaning, if you look at the picture over here, how high? Here's the bed. You see the bed? What you're sleeping on is the bed. So that surface of the bed to the top. If it's not 10 tefachim high, you're good. You're sleeping in this bed, but that's not called a hole. That it's like that this is. It's like just like your sheet on top, your cover on top of you. It's not called a tent. Your cover is not a tent. So if you don't have a proper space of 10 tefachim between the bed and the ceiling, that's not called a tent. But kinofot is a type of bed that has at each corner of the bed it had a canopy with four poles, but with 4 poles back then of it, and the 4 poles, and it runs flat across. That's the kinof. If you want to see a nice picture, you'll in your art scroll you should have a nice picture of the kinof. If you look back on 10A3 number 20 is a picture of a kinof. You'll see that's the kinof 10A3. See on the bottom, this like box type of thing. This one. And on the right is the kilat, which comes to an angle. The one on the bottom, what looks like a box, is square. That's the kinof. So the Gemara says, if the niklitin is 10 tefachim high, even though it doesn't have a roof, even though it doesn't come to a flat surface, we have on record that it's invalid if you have this type of structure that even if it comes to an angle on top, as long as it's 10 tefachim high, even though it's not a flat roof, it will be a problem. And that's a contradiction to Rabbi Yehuda Mashmuel. Yehuda Mashmuel said, you have to meet 2 criteria to be a tent to invalidate, that separate between you and the sukkah and the schach. Number 1, a height of 10 tefachim. And number 2, you have to have also be flat for the kilah to be invalid. But if the roof is not flat, even if it's 10 tefachim high, it's not going to invalidate it. And here we see that as by a kilah, the opposite. We see as long as it's 10 tefachim high, I don't care that it's not flat on top. The fact that you're 10 tefachim high, even though you come to a point on top, Ariel, you still consider interrupt. It's still considered a tent that interrupts between you and the schach. So the Gemara answers, Steine Niklitin Nikvi. The Niklitin, the way they made the post by the Niklitin bed, it was done in a way that was strongly. They affixed the sheet on top of this post in a very strong fashion. So now the Gemara says, so what's happening? The Gemara is saying, if it's affixed in a strong way, even if it comes to a point on top and it's not flat on top, that gives it a sense of a structure. And that will separate between you, Dr. Rosen, and the schach on top. If you're in a structure, even here, if it's 10, even though it comes to a point, now we're going to see it. We're going to see about your question about if it's under 10 and it's strong. Here we're saying that the klitin, it's strong, but it's 10. It comes to a point on top, but it's no roof. But since it's strong, it's kavua, it's set. Even though it comes to a point on top, since it's 10 tefachim, it's a problem. So the Gemara is going to shoot back. Ikvi, if it's said lehavi kinofot, it should be like kinofot. The kinofot are a problem, even though it's less than 10 tefachim. So what's the issue with the kinofot? The kinofot is also, it's a structure that's strong, and it's strong, we say, even if it's not 10 tefachim high, it will be considered a interruption. And here we're saying the neklitin, they're strong, but it has to be 10 tefachim high. Why? So the Gemara answers, Legabe kinofot lo kvi'i, legabe kila kvi'i. That means if you contrast, if you compare the kila, the neklitin, these two posts, that one, the middle of the bed, there's one post. In the other end of the bed, other middle of the bed, there's another post. That type of bed is stronger than a kila, but it's not as strong as a kinof. So we have three types of beds: a neklitin bed, a kinof bed, and a kila bed. That's how we're going to focus on those three beds. The kinof bed is those four posts, and it's very strong, affixed, the covering on top. That is a problem, even if it's not 10 tefachim high. The neklitin is medium in its strength, in how strong it is. Because it's medium, the only time will be a problem, it would be if it's 10 tefachim high, even though it doesn't come to a flat roof. Because of its strength, that it's affixed, it's considered a structure, even though it's not a flat roof, because it's what? It's strong a certain amount. But a kila, if the kila doesn't have a roof and it's not so strong, then even though it's 10 tefachim high, it would not be a problem. A kila looks, also the kila that we're saying is the kila chatanim is like, it comes to some sort of point on top. So since it comes to a point on top, so even though it's 10 tefachim high, it's not a problem. Why? Because it's not strong. So you have the kila and the neklitin, they look similar. They all both come to a point, but the difference in the neklitin is very strongly, it's much stronger affixed, that structure. And therefore, if it's 10 tefachim high, the neklitin is a problem. But the kila, since it's not, the kila chatanim, which is not, doesn't come to a, it's not strong, so therefore it would not be a problem, even though it's 10 tefachim high, because it comes to an angle on top. So that's what the Gemara wants to say. Now, we'll continue in the Gemara. Dorash, is that clear, everybody? Okay? Dorash Rabba Baravuna, Muta Lishon B'Kila. You're allowed to sleep in a kila, af al pi sheish lo gag, af pi shegvo asura. He's a new opinion. He says a kila, even though it has a roof, it has a flat on top, even though it's 10 tefachim high, he says you could sleep in such a thing. Why? Because he holds that since this is a temporary type of tent, it's a kila, it's not made with very great strength. Even though it's 10 tefachim high, it does not have the power to create a separation between you and the big boy. The big boy is that sukkah that you're sleeping in. A little tent, a little temporary thing cannot knock out a permanent type of structure. I mean, the sukkah is a very strong structure. He's talking about, we have even a type of kila that even if it's a four-posted kila, but it's not strong, it's not so strong, and it's not strong even though it comes to a roof, even though it's 10 tefachim high. He says.
But Rabbi, there is a couple of points like that you have to really discuss them. Why it does not consider to be a separation, because number one, with the kila you sleep at home anyway. It's kila doesn't meant to create another space of living. Kila meant to separate. The only thing is like from bugs, mosquitoes to come and bite you middle of the night. And it can stop the weather, it can stop anything except the small bugs. So why the discussion about the kila? I understand why the discussion, but I'm why they're going to the deepness of like explaining the shape and everything, while the meaning of the kila is just for one purpose, to stop bugs.
Right, but because the issue is now that you moved your kila during Sukkot, you moved your bed into the Sukkah. And now the question is, where are you now? If you have this draping over you, you have a mitzvah to be in a Sukkah, and now the question is, is this kila considered an interruption or not between you and the schach? The Torah wants you to live
It's a
in
mesh.
a
It's
Sukkah.
a mesh. It's a mesh. It's not a fabric. It's not like a bed sheet that can create a blockage. You know, it's a mesh. It's completely see-through, wind through, weather through, everything through. You know, and the only thing is blocking is the mosquitoes that we're using it for the beginning with. That's the only reason to use kila. No other reason to use kila.
First, the way Rashi explains the way they made these kila, they put a sheet across. That was the kila they were talking about, and you know, say that's the kila. And also, we have to see, anyways, in our days, certain other types of materials. It's still a material. It's still a garment. It's still something. But those days, Rashi is saying it's a sheet that they ran across the top, and that's the question: is that considered an interruption that you're not sleeping in a sukkah? So the Gemara says, "Kiman Rabbi Yehuda." This opinion of Rav Bar Huna is like Rabbi Yehuda. What did Rabbi Yehuda say? The Amar lo ati oel aray mevata ol keva. A temporary tent cannot knock out, cannot ruin a permanent tent. Meaning it's not. What's the case? We learned in the Mishnah. Rabbi Yehuda. Noagim hayinu lishan tachat hamita b'fnei hazakenim. We used to sleep. His opinion was they used to sleep under the bed in the sukkah. Below, and the Chachamim did not, the rabbis didn't say anything to us. So he was of the opinion that, you see, you're under a bed, you're under some sort of cover. You're not under the cover of the schach. You're under the cover of the bed. But since that bed is made to move around, it's not a permanent type of thing. That bed does not interrupt between you and the schach. So that was his opinion. Even though we're going to see more, we'll see more in the Gemara about that. But he wants to say that a temporary tent cannot interrupt when you're in a permanent tent. We'll continue on Monday. We'll finish up. We'll get to a new Mishnah. Want to wish everyone a beautiful day. Good to see everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom, Rabbi.
Beautiful Shabbat shalom to everybody. You too. Thank you so much. Manny Haber says hello to everybody.
Everybody
What
gone
did he
away
say?
already.
Okay. Tell Manny that that's so beautiful that you spoke to him. Yosef, have a good Shabbat.
Thank you, Rabbi. Tevi, always pleasure to hear your voice and your
Thank
teaching.
you, Yosef.